Greetings, Raven. Cleric here. I want to talk a little bit today about the next Armored Core game. With Miyazaki making recent comments along the lines of they're very happy with Armored Core 6. They don't plan on stopping there. They have a strong will to make another one. There's been a lot of buzz and, speculation there online as far as when's the next Armored Core game coming out. Obviously, the DLC is just around the corner, up on 621. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute. But that being said, I thought I would go over a little bit of the history of Armored Core with you as far as what release dates looked like. So I thought I'd take some time here and I'd show you what it looked like when the Armored Core games have been released. Now, really understand we are going to be going based off Japanese timelines or Japanese release dates. There's been some weird release dates over the years, especially over in Europe. So for the sake of consistency, we're going to be using the Japanese release dates for the original Armored Core games. So, without further ado, Armored Core 1 was released on July 10th of 1997. I'm the one who started with the back of the PlayStation demo disc back then, and that was released out in Japan, was that in July of 97. You skip forward ahead about 5 months and you get Armored Core Project Phantasma on December 4th, 1997. A simple 5 months later. Now, it kind of makes sense given the fact that Project Phantasma was almost kind of like an add-on. It was almost like DLC before you even had DLC. Granted, it got released as a standalone game. It had its own separate story. The story mode was very short, but also introduced the arena, which is a new gameplay mode. But in general, it was a very small release compared to the first game. And then we go 14 months later from Project Phantasma. We go what most people consider the pinnacle of the PS1 era, and that is Master of the Arena on February 4th, 1999. Again, this is a full-blown release. This one was on 2 discs because there was so much going on with this game. So many arena opponents, a lot going on, a return of 9-ball, things along those nature. Lots of things happening in this game. So you have 5 months to 14 months between these games. If you look at the transition then from the PS1 to the PS2, the next game was Armored Core 2 on the PlayStation 2 on August 3rd of 2000. You realize that was 18 months later. So you have a major transition, a huge graphical update, obviously huge changes at that point, a major shift in direction, not direction, but just they kind of took what they'd learned from the original Armored Core games and just kind of built on it at that point. Go forward 9 months later and you get Armored Core 2 Another Age on April 12th of 2001. That being said, Another Age is an interesting monster in of itself. I think the reason why the 9-month structure may have happened the way it did is that you didn't have as much voice acting needed in this game. You had a lot of repeat lines from the original game. A lot of voice lines were reused in a few places. And with that being the case, it was kind of a lot of the missions and different structures got rehashed. A lot of the same maps were used over and over again. It's a lot of missions, but there was really no story to be had per se. So with that being the case, there wasn't too much, shall we say, overhead work needing done to get this game out. Do that one 9 months later from Armored Core 2. You go forward 12 months from Armored Core 2 Another Age, you get Armored Core 3 on April 4th, 2002. There's another major shift and change in the games. At this point, Armored Core 2 Another Age kind of finished the storyline, so to speak, of the it started with the original one back in 97. Armored Core 3 started a kind of a new subplot, a new general throughput storyline of the Armored Core series. Again, major shift, new parts, new setups, new mechanics, things of that nature that all went around. Me being personally very happy with Succeed Orbit Cores, love those things. So that's what we had at that point as well. So if you go forward 9 months from Armored Core 3, is Armored Core Silent Line on January 23rd of 2003. What I find amazing to me is the time development of this one. Silent Line was a completely built-on game. Lots of new parts, a whole new storyline, a lot of good number of missions. There was all kinds of things you got to do in Silent Line. I'm amazed at the development timeline of this one. It almost makes me think that one of maybe these two games were designed to be one at some point and they decided to kind of make it two separate things. I don't know exactly. But Silent Line was a pretty major upgrade from that 9 months later. And as I said, January of 2003. You go forward 14 months from Silent Line, you get Armored Core Nexus on March 18th of 2004. 14 months and we get Nexus. Now Nexus was a huge thing. You may notice there's a lot of the same parts that were used, as far as the 3 series goes, but maybe some had new names, different, maybe a slightly upgraded graphics look, but they look very similar to you. And the main big introducing in this one was the fact that this is when dual analog sticks were included. You could still use the old what's called tank controls or Type A or Type B, but with this one you have the actual option to use dual analog sticks. Huge change. Then only 7 months later, you get Armored Core 9 Breaker on October 28, 2004. This one's an outlier. Kind of, I almost liken it in a sense like Phantasma is to Armored Core, how different it was. But this one's even more different. There's no missions to be stayed ahead of per se. There's no really storyline with this thing. It's like a training simulator. It's a completely different animal. Some people in their timelines don't even include Ninebreaker because it doesn't make sense, they think it's in their opinion. But I include it because it was a major release with new parts and, you know, new mechanics, things of that nature. So I still include this general timeline. Move forward 10 months from Ninebreaker and you get to Armored Core Last Raven on August 4, 2005. Now this, to me, and I still agree that this is, to me, even to this day, is still kind of pinnacle Armored Core. This game is the tops in a lot of old school Ravens, old gen Ravens books. It's tops in mine as well. My personal favorite's still Nexus, but Last Raven to me is still, I consider, pinnacle AC. And this game, again, introduced some more things to it, renamed a few things, and it's just overall in the storyline and the different branching paths it had. Last Raven's phenomenal. Insanely difficult. Fair warning, those who haven't played it yet. This game is hard, really hard. But yeah, Last Raven is infamous for its difficulty. From Software, it wasn't a Dark Souls thing. The difficulty from their games started all the way back on Armored Core. So we move forward 16 months from Last Raven and we get Armored Core 4. We need to make another generation leap. This was the one that goes into on PlayStation 3 and goes on December 21st of 2006. Go from PS2 to the PS3 era. Also, about a year later in Japan, other places also get it released on the Xbox 360 on the Xbox line of systems. Obviously, all new changes, changing the mechanics, all new graphics, the storyline, everything's completely changed at that point. You go 15 months later from it, and you get Armored Core 4 Answer. Notice the big development timeline on this one. This also was a standalone game that was huge on March 19th of 2008. 4 Answer is kind of one of the more beloved children of the Armored Core series. I remember when the 4 series first came out, it wasn't as well liked, but as time has gone on, 4 Answer has a entirely huge following of itself. It's probably the most played old gen game, if I would guess, to this day on emulators. It's probably 4 Answer. There's people playing it constantly on the emulator side of things. 4 Answer was a huge addition to the game. We go forward 46 months. 46 months. And we get Armored Core 5 on January 26th of 2012. 46 months. The single longest development life cycle up to this point. We'll get to that in a second. For any Armored Core games. Huge, huge, huge shift. Here you have a relatively short timeline of like a year or two or a year and a half or so. They're in between games. And then this one was 46 months. I remember when we hit the 2-year mark with 4 Answer, we weren't sure we were getting another one anytime soon or it was going to happen at all. We kind of think that might have been it. We didn't know. And then when 5 got announced, saw the trailer and things of that nature, it was awesome to get to be a part of that timeline. It's actually Armored Core 5 is when I started my YouTube channel. I was back at that timeline, although still all the way back in 2012. Oh man, I'm showing my age there a little bit. But yeah, it was huge. And again, huge mechanic changes, new story. It was mostly online focused with very limited offline options with it. And yeah, Armored Core 5. You go forward 21 months. From Armored Core 5, you get Armored Core Verdict Day on September 23rd of 2013. 21 months, probably the longest, so we say the longest development cycle between, shall we say, numbered renditions of the same one. So you have like, you go from Armored Core 1 to Project Phantasma to Masquerena, all in the same line. To Another Age, 9 months. 3 to Silent Line, 9 months. Nexus to Ninebreaker 7, Ninebreaker to Last Raven 10. You have 4 to 4 Answer was 15, the bigger ones on that one. From 5 to Verdict Day was 21 months. You know, getting close to the 2-year mark. We're getting probably a little concerned again, once again, whether or not this is going to be another game that gets released to us. We get to be enjoy and be a part of. The Verdict Day gets released, and of course, it kind of builds on what 5 got started as far as the systems go. And of course, it's been obviously the servers been shut down since then. So then we go forward 119 months. 119 months. We finally get Armored Core 6 Fires Rubicon on August 25th, 2023, just last year. 119 months. I gotta tell you, about 4 or 5 years ago, there were leaks online, leaked screenshots saying Armored Core, that From Software was looking on the next Armored Core game. I didn't necessarily believe it. I said, until I actually see it happen, we weren't sure it was actually going to happen. We heard From Software talk about how they love Armored Core, they wanted more of it. But at that point, we had reached the Dark Ages. Get it? Dark Ages, Dark Souls, whatever. Terrible pun. Anyways, we'd reached that point in the series and we're just like, you know what? They're a Souls company now. They make Dark Souls games where this is it. And then when I remember watching the Game Awards in that hotel room in Chicago and freaking out when I saw this, yeah, needless to say, more than a little bit excited to have another Record game come out. So that leads to the question: when is 6.5? That's the joke I'm going to make here. All right, when is 6.5? Now, the reason why 6.5 is this: if you look at From Software's history with Armored Core, any game that's ever been released has had a rendition that was built on top of an existing game. Armored Core 1 had 2 built-ons, Armored Core 2 had 1, 3 had 1, Nexus had 2 built-ons, 4 had 1, and 5 had 1. All of them had built-ons. They had standalone released games that built on the mechanics, the setup, the art design, the parts that were the originals for the game, and then they built on top of that for the next release. So that's why I'm jokingly calling it 6.5, or as I jokingly called it, Armored Core 6 Foil Zenith. That's just the name, my headcanon name for the next Armored Core game. Because I don't think it's going to be a 7. I really think it's going to be a build-on. Now, will the build-on be in the form of a standalone game like it has been, or will it follow the more recent trend that From Software has been doing with their games, which is doing a huge DLC expansion? Elden Ring is a really good example of this. Elden Ring right now was released on February 25th of 2022, and 16 months later, well, coming up here in a couple weeks on 621, again, yes, I know, 621, that's the call sign of the person we play as in Armored Core. There's no way From Software did that on accident. It was totally on purpose. There's no way they didn't do it on accident. It was totally on purpose. There's no way it wasn't that way. So the question is, what does this look like? And the question is, how long is it going to be this? Is it going to be a standalone game, or is it going to be a full-blown DLC? I can see both happening. I'm 50-50 on that one. This is what I'm going to look at, though. If you look at what goes from Armored Core 1 to Armored Core Master Arena, without the middle one inside, you have 19 months. You go from Armored Core 2 to Armored Core 3, it's 21 months. From Armored Core 3 to Armored Core Nexus, next big one's 23 months. If you go from Nexus, skip over Ninebreaker right to Last Raven, it's 17 months. So the question is, when do you think it's going to happen? This is my guess. My guess is right now, around the 21-month mark is when we're probably going to see the next release for Armored Core. Based on the history, based on development cycles, we just had this last one here. We had all these timelines we have with other people. I think it's going to take more than the 16 months it took for Elden Ring to get their DLC. I think Armored Core 6 has a lot more that From Software is going to need to cook on properly to get a proper expansion on it. They even said, Miyazaki said himself, there's things they thought there were room for improvement. They want to improve on it. So my guess, we're probably closer to the 20-21 month range. So here is my guess. My guess is, since I think it's going to be coming out probably in April of 2025, that is my guess. I would say we might see another trailer for this in the Game Awards again, in the Game Awards at the end of this year. That is my guess. My guess, the Game Awards in 2024, we will see another From Software trailer announcing the next addition to the Armored Core series. Whether it's going to be a standalone game that's a 6.5, or it's going to be a major DLC download for the game. That is my guess. Based on the history of the Armored Core games and based on From Software's development cycle they've been using recently, this is my guess, is I'm guessing around the 20 to 21 month mark. I'm guessing right around April of 2025. Let me know what you think. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Do you think it's going to be longer? Do you think it's going to be less? Do you think we're not going to get it at all? Do you think we're going to be waiting 2 or 3 years and getting an Armored Core 7? They're not going to even bother with adding on to 6. What do you think? Let me know your theories and your thought lines about this game in the comment section. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow what's going on here. I'm inching ever closer to the 5,000 subscriber mark. If I get to the 5,000 subscriber mark, I will be doing a giveaway. And I'm working on a huge Armored Core project. I'm in the throes of it right now, hoping to get it done at the end of this month, into maybe in the beginning of next July, this upcoming July. I'm also working on the next podcast, releasing that hopefully in a couple weeks, talking about what is Armored Core. From that video put out a couple weeks ago, asking you the question, the viewers, what is Armored Core to you? And so we can get some more content out there. And I'm telling you, this project I'm working on, that I've only told a couple people about it, and when I told them what it was, they were super excited what I was doing. And I have more things coming down the pike, and this is planned on being only episode 1 of this series. It's a whole new series I'm working on that takes the niche and Armored Core even more niche, which I'm looking forward to get to do. Thank you all for taking time to watch this video. I will see you in the next one.